Welcome to the Food Startups Podcast.
Welcome to the Food Startups Podcast, where two entrepreneurs in South America explore natural foods, share startup stories, and learn how to build a business in the United States.
Great, Matt. That was pretty good, man. That was a pretty good shot at kind of summing up our podcast.
Yeah, man. Well, listen, we're on our 40th episode today. Can you believe it?
Yeah, it's been a long time coming, but I'm glad we made it to number 40, and I think that number 40 deserves a catchphrase, right?
Yeah, but I have some serious news. I went to the doctor today, and he told me I had FSDD.
FSDD, is that food startup deficiency something?
Close. It's food startups deficit disorder. He said I'm not getting enough food startups in my life. So I just wanted to let you know, for my health, we need to rededicate ourselves to this podcast, and we need to make this a weekly show.
A weekly show, you say? So does that mean that I can't have time for exercising that?
Maybe you could record while working out.
Okay, yeah, I think I could do that. Anyway, let's get into our topic today. Really quickly, two news items that have come up. Pretty big ones, in fact. A really well-funded food startup called Hampton Creek Foods, which makes a popular egg-free mayonnaise called Just Mayo, was sued by Unilever, which owns Hellmann's. They were sued because it sounds like Just Mayo misrepresents mayonnaise and what mayonnaise by definition is. And so Hellmann's and Unilever is going after them pretty hard. That's number one. And number two that's popped up is that Whole Foods has been crediting Instacart, which is a delivery service for food that is in major cities across the United States. I think there are more than 10 cities with sales growth. So Whole Foods has been crediting Instacart with sales growth, which is huge because, Matt, there have been a lot of different opinions on food delivery, starting from Webvan. And when 1999 or 2001, there was a big blow up with this well-funded startup that did food delivery and lost millions of dollars. And then finally, Fresh Direct started to take off. And now the market in the last year or two has been flooded with food delivery. So Instacart helping Whole Foods out is a great item to kind of see. Now, without further ado, Matt, you want to take it away and introduce? We've got an awesome special guest today who's got tons of industry knowledge and is a great person to listen to.
Yeah, I really think our listeners are going to enjoy this interview, and it will be at foodstartupspodcast.com/Abes, A-B-E-S. We're talking today with one of the co-founders of Abes Market, Richard Demb. And Abes is an online marketplace that's kind of like Etsy and Whole Foods mixed together online. We'll learn a lot more about it, but it's just really cool, Danny, because we started maybe 3 to 4 weeks ago planning a online marketing episode, and we put it out, and we had some good feedback, and there's just so much going on there. So we're going to kind of combine that with a very sharp online marketing mind and business mind, and they are an online platform for food startups.
Yeah, and Matt, so it's been a blast in the past few weeks learning about e-commerce, as well as having a company, Nothing But Foods On, that has gone through explosive growth, and now being able to interview Abes Market, which is actually helping a lot of these companies get out there, get their name out there, grow to the next level. It's been a real big blast, and I know we're going to give you guys more and more high quality content as the year comes to a close. Also, I really want to thank Rosie at Abes Market and Nothing But Foods for helping us set up these interviews and getting to the founders and the bright minds there to be able to share their stories. So I appreciate that as well.
Thanks a lot, Rosie. So let's get on to it. Today we have Richard Demb from Abes Market, which is proud to be a Forbes Top 25 innovative company. Now, Richard, along with his co-founder, founded Abes Market, but he has tons and tons of experience along the way, and he has done a variety of professional projects, including a monthly column he used to have on the New York Times. Now, Richard, you went from investment banking to tech and e-commerce to your own popcorn company, and today you're with Abes. Now, can you tell us, was this a plan? How did this whole thing come about?
Thank you guys for having me. I'm trying to think if there's a real thread that I can weave through all of it. I think the theme is I'm always excited to learn and always trying to make sure I'm doing something that I'm excited to wake up to every morning. So when I started my career, I spent a couple of years in banking, trying to learn as much about startups and what makes for a successful company, and used those years to really study other people's business plans. And I was kind of filtering business plans for the higher ups at a bank, and knew that I wanted to be on the side of the table that was raising raising the money, that was growing a company. And fairly early on in my business, I started a company called Global Commerce Zone, and that was to help retailers ship internationally. Raised venture capital money for that and spent about 3 years doing it. And it was really challenged because the sales cycle was really long. We were selling into major U.S. retailers, trying to help them figure out how to calculate customs and duties charges when they ship internationally. And the timing was a little bit off. And after that business kind of fizzled, a few of my colleagues went to work for FedEx, and I said, I really like this entrepreneurship thing. I really like trying to grow a brand. Let me try my hand at something consumer. Partnered with a fabulous, proven entrepreneur by the name of Warren Struhl, and we opened Popcorn Indiana, which started as a retail concept, and we knew we were onto something. And from retail, we grew it into a wholesale concept, and by that I mean we took our most popular popcorn flavors and we started selling them into major retail locations, anywhere where food was sold, everyone from Target to Walgreens to Costco. I worked with major distributors to get it there. So the secret to that business was really solving the retailer's pain for natural and organic products. So this was 2003, 2004, and stores were looking to fill their set full with healthier products. And we made sure to use the best organic ingredients. So we were able to sell into their organic section, which was much easier than competing head to head with Frito-Lay. And from there, as that business grew, we grew it to a really substantial place. And in fact, now Popcorn Indiana thrives and is the leading ready-to-eat popcorn brand. I'm still connected to the business, but I decided after it reached a point of stability, it was on its way to growth, that I really wanted to start the next new thing. Again, that entrepreneur blood is flowing strong and I couldn't stop it. And I teamed up with an old friend of mine by the name of John Poland, who came out of Clorox and Capital One. And we said, where's the big pain right now? And this is 2009, and we're looking around and realizing everyone's looking for products that they can feel good about, natural, organic, stuff that they can understand, and the ingredients that they're reading and know that they're serving their family healthy products. And we said, why don't we start a website that has great products? And they could be small businesses, they could be big businesses, but we want a place where we curate every product. It has to apply to get into Abe's, and we're going to make sure we only serve the best, focused first on natural and organic. And that's what we did. We built that in 2009, launched it late 2009, 2010. And that in Abe's is a culmination of a bit of a tech business as well as a marketing merchandising business. And really at its core, we're trying to build trust with the consumer. We're trying to make sure that we're offering only the best products. So it makes their shopping process really easy. So they know they come to Abe's and whatever they're going to get is great.
So it sounds like a little bit like the Popcorn Indiana was a really great ground for you to learn about how food works. And I mean, maybe we're oversimplifying, but you understand that retailers are difficult to get into. I guess one question for you, was distribution tough when you were getting Popcorn Indiana into the Targets and Walgreens of the world? I've always heard about sales cycles of 1 year for vitamin water getting into Walgreens, for example. Did you have a similar experience and did you learn a lot from it?
It is tough. You're hitting on a great point. I think every brand struggles. And I don't think you'll find a brand that just 30 days after they launch is all of a sudden everywhere. The way retail buyers work is a very methodical process. So it does just take time. And I think that's where investment or having enough money in the bank to be able to be around long enough for your product to hit the shelves and then support it when it hits the shelves is so very important. So it was challenging. Luckily, I had a fantastic sales team. We had money behind us in order to make sure we were pounding down doors all the time. And you know what? We did have a fantastic product, and it's still a fantastic product. And our goal was to get it into a buyer's mouth, let them try it. And here was the challenge, and I think this is the challenge of every great new product. It was different. So we were selling gourmet popcorn. So our first product was kettle corn, sweet and salty popcorn, ready to eat. And it was fantastic. But the challenge was that retailers hadn't been successful in selling ready-to-eat popcorn. And my push was, the reason you're not successful is because you're not selling a quality product. And you sell it for 99 cents, and you could sell ours for $3 and make more money and have a happier customer because they're actually going to enjoy it. And they bought into that idea, but it took them a while, or I should say it took a while for the major chains to really believe it. And the way we did it was we started selling to small stores. And after we got into some small stores, we convinced some distributors to deliver it to the small stores because we already done the selling for them. And now they could just make their margin by putting it on a truck. And once we had some small distributors, we were able to go to some medium-sized stores and say, hey, we've got the small guys. You should take this product too. And it was really using those stepping stones. Whole Foods is a great example where you can get into a few stores because each store manager's got the ability to decide to try a product. And then you just got to keep stepping up to a regional presence. You could sell into a region and then into a couple regions. And just you need to have that time to be able to sell across the entire chain. And that pretty much goes for everyone. I think Walgreens and Duane Reade and some of those C-stores I've been very progressive in trying to find great new products. And I think now may be easier in some ways because everyone's looking for a cool new product. The flip side is there are a lot of new cool products out there. So my advice is build something different and unique so you can rise above the noise and have enough patience to educate the buyers and the consumers as to why it's unique and different.
Cool. And Richard, so we talked about this before we started recording, and you mentioned the experience at Abe's. And obviously, there's no doubt about it that Amazon has a ton of food products and health and beauty, obviously, as well, available, organic and non-organic. And so why would someone buy from Abe's instead of Amazon?
Great question. Amazon is a fantastic place to buy product, but it's not a great place to discover something new or as a gluten-free buyer to come back and say, hey, I need to find some gluten-free snacks for my kids. What do I find and what should I get and who recommends a product and how do I ask them a specific question? So I liken the experience. Amazon is very much a Walmart experience to kind of great superstore, big box experience versus a Trader Joe's or Whole Foods experience, which is what Abe's is going for. How do we be very selective as to the products we accept to make it easier for you, the consumer, to find something you're going to love without having to look around too much? And if you've got questions, we offer you the opportunity to ask the brands a question directly. So if you've got a kid with allergies and you want to make sure no allergen is in that product, you can ask the brand directly on our site. So all in all, it's a totally different experience than the Amazon experience. Again, they're a great place to go and have your big box experience. But if you want someone who is curating product, only providing the best, providing you access and information you can't find anywhere else, Abe's is the place for you.
Gotcha. So, you made the contrast between Abe's and Amazon, and you talked about the difference with the transparency and the brands, the products that Abe's carries. What criteria do you look for? And I'd like to know about how established, these are growing brands, they're small, but they're growing brands. How established do they have to be? What type of capacity do they need? And what other criteria do you look for?
Thank you. It's a great point. I think something we need to keep reinforcing. Every brand that we sell has to apply to sell on Abe's. So it's not a free marketplace in the sense that you can just upload your product in the way that an eBay or Craigslist is. We see or touch and feel and taste every product that we sell. We've got a merchandising team that this is all they do is they try out new products. And the criteria are as follows. One is we have ingredient criteria. So they're a little more strict than Whole Foods criteria as to what they'll accept in their stores, but it's similar to what Whole Foods has used as their criteria. Again, only a little more strict. So that's one. It's got to be clean. It's got to be pure. We're looking for organic ingredients, and if they're not totally organic, then it has to fit into our criteria of what natural ingredients are. That's one. Two is it's got to work. It's got to either taste great. It's got to, if it's a personal care product, we've got to find it. The efficacy is there. If it's a baby product, we've got to make sure that what it says it's going to do, it actually does. And three is packaging and presentation. Right? We're in the age where everything you use, you want to look beautiful. So it's got to have retail-ready packaging. We've got to like the way it's packaged. Someone has to be spending real time and energy on making sure the consumer is going to like what it looks like when they open it up. A small example is, I think 10 years ago, you can get away with a brown paper bag that you sealed with a piece of tape and you put a little sticker, a white label on it, and that was good for fresh cookies. And that age is long gone. You need to really be able to present whatever it is you're selling.
Gotcha. Now, and these brands that apply to Abe's, are they free to sell on Amazon and other stores online, or do they have to have an exclusive online deal with Abe's?
They are free to sell everywhere. We're trying to help them grow and tell their story. And in doing so, we don't feel good about asking them to only sell on Abe's. Frankly, we want them to grow. We want them to grow in retail. We've had webinars where we help them understand what it takes to grow in retail. We've got a co-op of services where we help the brands pool together their resources to negotiate better rates. So we are championing the brand, and we think Abe's is a great outlet in addition to other places they're going to sell.
Richard, do you guys advise and are you in a position to kind of be an incubator in the future maybe? Because it sounds like you have this incredible experience building a popcorn company. You have the business savvy, but then time and time again, Matt and I, when we're doing interviews, we hear about how folks have trouble running businesses, doing the accounting, getting advice on when they're ready to grow. I mean, as you said before, there are all these check boxes to check off, and you guys are certainly helping. Do you think that you guys can be even more valuable in the future in some other way?
Thanks for bringing that up, because we've also started an investment vehicle called the Abe's Velocity Investment Company. And we launched that with our lead investors last December. We made a few investments in brands on our platform. An incubator model is really interesting. We're not set up for it yet. It's something we would think about in the future. One thing we're trying to do now in that vein is introduce the companies to each other. So let them meet each other and learn from each other so you can avoid mistakes and just be smarter. But it's funny you say that, because the incubator model is something that's been hotly debated at headquarters several times.
Okay, I got you. And actually, let me jump in. I got one more question. This is something that Matt and I talk about all the time. I think it's a huge one for folks in the food industry, is the working together versus kind of being secretive or kind of not being totally transparent. I think that brands and folks who start out their company and they start getting some traction, they always think that their company is their baby. And then what I've seen really in the food industry and what Matt and I are actually trying to create in part in Colombia is kind of like an ecosystem, which is what it sounds like you guys are exactly doing, where folks really work together. So it means combining on logistics and shipping and helping each other out rather than keeping information from you. I mean, do you have any kind of comments as to what you've learned through the years? Is there a kind of a catch-all rule, or do you have to kind of evaluate transparency as your company grows? I mean, what do you think about that at this stage?
So I'm thinking about, we had an early advisor, a Target executive, who later jumped on full time with us, a guy by the name of Brian Tachman. And he used to always say, guys, there are no secrets in retail. And it's true. I think it's really hard. You talk about kind of holding something close to your chest, it's your baby. I think that just doesn't work that well when you've got a consumer product, because you got to put it out there and you want as many people to know about it as possible. And something that's fascinating about the natural organic world is most of these brands don't see each other as real true competition. There's a lot of cooperation, and it's so fun to see, and it's so efficient and productive to be a part of. Because I think if you're a snack company, you're not competing with other snacks because people buy multiple snacks. If anything, you're competing with the 800-pound gorillas in the space. So I think it benefits everyone to be, frankly, pretty darn transparent as to what you're trying to do, how you plan to do it, because the more people that know about you, the more help you'll get, and the more chances you have to win over evangelists for your brand.
Now, to me, one thing I was pretty impressed, like the shipping, if I'm correct, it's like under $50, it's $4.99. And we know that some of them are going to be in your fulfillment center, but some of them are going to be directly from these brands, these sellers. How did you figure that out? How did you figure out your shipping rates and building a fulfillment center? Because those all sound like daunting tasks for most people. And I know you had a little bit of experience with logistics in the past, but if you could just tell us how you solved one of the biggest problems in logistics.
We've been testing out models since we started. We started as a pure dropship business, which has a lot of advantages, but we brought on a warehouse partner about a year and a half, 2 years into the business because there were products that didn't make sense to drop ship. So there we got into kind of a managed warehouse situation where we don't own the warehouse. It's a third-party warehouse, and we ask brands to ship directly to that warehouse. Now we're a bit of a hybrid approach where we have both dropship and warehouse products. And the shipping price has been tested many different times in many different ways. A lot of that has to do with what the consumer's looking for. I think Zappos did a phenomenal service to consumers and making shipping free. Unfortunately for brands, there's an expectation that shipping is cheap to free. So you can use that as a marketing vehicle, but consumers just don't want to pay a lot for shipping right now. And I'll give you a little bit of an insight into the business in that you can offer $5 off, but free shipping is a whole lot more effective and to kind of a 2 to 3 times more effective than free shipping when really they're the same value. But the consumer's been trained to really want and jump on free shipping. So, long story short, that $49 and up free shipping is really an interesting marketing lever that we're experimenting with all the time. And it's a challenge. Anytime you're shipping physical goods, you just got to get really smart with your costs, the weights, how you can ship them, where you locate your facility. But it's something you got to keep learning about along the way.
Okay, and does that mean that folks that sell on Abe's, do companies sometimes lose money at the expense of kind of getting traction, getting volume, getting their name out there? I mean, that happens a lot in just the retail space when you have so much overhead and just distribution costs are super high when you're just starting out. Do you also see that despite the fact that you're in a little bit of a different market in e-commerce?
It's a great question. And we launched a program called Try for Two, two being $2. So every day we've got somewhere between 12 and 15 products, full-size products that are $2. And I'm answering your question in a fairly direct way because the whole goal of the program and the whole reason we're offering those full-size products for $2, which includes free shipping. So you can order 3 products for $2, full size, and get it all shipped for free. The whole reason we're doing that is to let brands get exposure to new audience, and we'll help them target who sees their product. And most importantly, we show them phenomenal amount of data of what people thought of their product after the fact. So they've got real-time maps and graphs saying, these are the people who love your product and here's why. And the whole reason we're doing that is exactly what you said, which is exposure is expensive. It's really hard to get people to try your product. So we're doing it in a really efficient way for these brands. It helps us also measure response from the community of what products they like and what they don't and why. But essentially, we're trading price. We're getting these products for free or for really cheap in exchange for data and audience building for the brand, because it is just really hard to grow and get people to try. And any way Abe's can help, we're going to do. So in that specific program, brands won't make money, but they will grow audience and they will get a whole lot smarter. And I think it's a really smart trade-off and a really smart way to grow your brand.
Now, Richard, Annie and I have been studying a lot about online marketing sales, and you mentioned that you're in Israel right now with the web team. So you guys are a business, but the main driver of business is the website. You mentioned the free shipping being more important than, or more effective, I should say, than $5 off. Now, any other keys to success for generating traffic and sales online?
I think it all starts with a unique product. Whether you're a web business or a consumer product, you've got to have something unique and different. And we're always trying to innovate and come up with a different way to bring people to Abe's. So right now, we're really pushing this Try for $2 because you really can't find full-size products for $2 every day anywhere else. And that, at its core, is a way to drive traffic, because then you get bloggers to talk about it. Media wants to pick up and talk about it. You'll have affiliates. If folks know what the affiliate programs are like, you'll have affiliates start talking about you. You've got something to talk about. And once you have something legitimate and different, unique to talk about, it's much easier, cheaper, and efficient to drive people to your site. I think the really hard part, and when it gets really expensive, is if your message doesn't stand out, because then you're paying a lot of money to ask people to come to your site versus another one. So I think, rule number 1 is have something unique to talk about. And then rule number 2 is really smartly look at, call them the free channels, whether it be the bloggers, the tastemakers out there, and talk to them and get the word out to them so they drive their traffic to you. And that goes for Instagram and Facebook as well, where if you've got something unique to say, people will share it and they'll drive very efficient, cheap to free traffic to you.
Yeah, and this is going to be kind of weird. I mean, when I see this, one of my favorite companies in the world is diapers.com. Just because I read their story, I followed it quite closely. And they have this unique principle, this kind of idea of, they have this model of losing some money on some items and then making money on other items, and having this proposition of incredible shipping. They're providing this sort of value that's different than other companies can, because it's hard to compete with folks like Amazon.com. So do you guys also, when you look at why you fundamentally work as a business, do you look at like your core competencies in the sense of Weight Diapers looked at it maybe with like free incredible shipping, some awesome cheap products, and then we make money on the rest? Like, can you sum up Abe's in maybe like 2 sentences in that way as far as the business model goes?
Sure. So what I think you're referring to is every business has to solve a pain. Right, so diapers.com just made it so convenient to first buy diapers, which were a pain to lug up the steps or to go to a store to buy, just bulky. You weren't sure of the price, and they solved the pain of making that convenient by shipping to you in a couple days, and then by letting you subscribe to diapers. So they were solving a pain. And if I could sum up the pain that Abe's is solving, I would say that it's really confusing out there as to what products consumers should be buying, especially when you've got some unique, you're looking for something unique. Again, a lot of our consumers are looking for a diet. So they're looking for a gluten-free diet, a vegan diet, a paleo diet. And what we're trying to do is make it as simple as possible to find the products that you'll love. And I think that's how we're again, we're different from the Amazons of the world is we're only finding the great products, and we're really trying to cater in every way possible through our navigation, through the way we've sorted products by qualities, through the question and answer, through the ability to learn about a company, to really building a fan base for the brand, at the same time matchmaking between consumers who want something and making it easy for them to find it.
Okay, thank you for putting that so succinctly, because my comment was anything but. And yeah, it sounds a lot like, I mean, there's an omnivore's dilemma problem, and you guys are the solution to that. And to make it even shorter, which is you're vetting and you're telling people a little bit more, then they can help them make their decisions easier.
Exactly.
Now, listeners, you're going to be able to find all of the links and summary of what we've talked about on this episode at foodstartupspodcast.com/ABES, ABES. And Richard, moving on to one of our final questions here. I know you have to go soon, but have there been any great brand success stories? Can you tell us a couple of some brands that may not have been 100% ABES, but that got huge exposure on ABES and now have exponential growth for their company?
Sure. Quinn Popcorn, Quinn Popcorn, was started by phenomenal husband and wife couple, Christy and Coulter, out of Boston. And he comes with a design background, and she brought the food expertise. And they decided they were going to reinvent microwavable popcorn. And about 2.5 years ago, they launched their brand. We were the first place to offer it online. The design is beautiful. The product itself tastes great. And from day one, they were just off to the races. And we help them by being that outlet for them online. We help them with some PR, and we've tried to build a relationship with them over the years to the extent that we invested in them about 6 months ago, and they're just up for any type of promotion we want to do together, any way to help tell their story, their game for it, and the results have been fantastic. They've really just skyrocketed as a brand. The big show in our space is called Expo, and they've become this like poster child brand for the Expo to show what you can do in only a few years. So I think, again, it goes back to our investment in the relationship with these brands, and I think Christy and Coulter just have the world in front of them as to how big they can grow the Quinn brand right now.
That's amazing. So, Richard, thank you so much for coming on to our show today. We really appreciate it, and we stand behind your mission.
Thank you very much, guys. Pleasure being on.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a pleasure to hear about how ABES has grown and how you've grown your previous companies and to get some insight, because the food industry is not an easy one to be in.
No, it's not, but it's a whole lot of fun.
And as always, if you have any questions or comments, find us online at foodstartupspodcast.com.